base it off this ball. Base it off this ball of value. So proper decision making.
The skyline of Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh. More than 12 million people live in this fast-growing metropolis, and thousands more arrive every day. The streets of Dhaka have long become like the eye of a needle. There are not enough streets for the increasing number of people and vehicles. Worse than the foul air is the noise on the street. Even if traffic is at a complete standstill, horns are always honking. Bangladesh lies to the east of India. Its northern border is formed by the Himalayas. The centre of this congestion-plagued city are the streets around the bus station of Gulistan. Rickshaws still dominate the streets of the city. 25-year-old Badshed Mia has been transporting goods by rickshaw for over 7 years now. Today, Badshed has to take TV sets and accessories to a shop in the Old Town for a logistics company. If he loads up his rickshaw to the top, he gets the equivalent of 70 cents per kilometre. He can manage 2 or 3 such trips a day. It depends on how bad the congestion is and if he can get through without problems.
I might have to bribe the traffic police, but this is already included in the price.
Every day, thousands of young people like Badshed arrive in the capital. They dream of wealth and fast money. Most of them end up on the streets of Dhaka. The job of rickshaw driver is a good opportunity to earn money.
My home village is called Sherpur. There are no jobs there, so I came to Dhaka. Life and work here are hard. There are a lot of traffic jams in Dhaka. Driving is dangerous and rickshaws are banned on the larger main streets, but I'll manage. There are many spots where the traffic police stop us. Sometimes they beat us, but if you give them 10 cents, then they let you drive on. It's going uphill up there. You have to get off and help me push. Now we're taking a left turn.
In the streets of Dhaka, things can easily get lost, so the logistics company sends its helpers along. They watch the goods and show Badshed the way through the maze of streets. Accidents and broken vehicles are part of the scenery. They are often the aftermath of a bit of jostling or inconsiderate drivers. The age and poor condition of the vehicles make any transport a high-risk journey. This old lorry was hopelessly overloaded. 18 tons of steel rods instead of the legal limit of 5 caused it to break down in the middle of the junction.
It's terrible. We're running late. We've got more expenses and won't be getting our wages. We have to pay for everything out of our own pocket. It's going to cost us dearly.
This time, no one got hurt, but accidents like this are typical for the streets of Dhaka. The 35-year-old rickshaw driver Muhammad Azim was swept into the streets of Dhaka more than 20 years ago. Every day, he drives passengers through the city to earn a few euros. Azim has a wife and 2 children to feed. He knows the streets and its dangers, and knows exactly what to look out for.
Actually, all other vehicles are dangerous for me, but I have to pay particular attention to buses, lorries and ordinary cars. The accident happened when a van hit me from behind and hurled me curbside. I lost consciousness immediately. It took me 3 months to be able to get back onto the rickshaw.
There are too many rickshaw drivers in Dhaka. Any newcomer can do this job. For Azim, this means ever longer waiting times, and prices are competitive.
Rickshaw, how much do you want?
20 cents.
15.
No.
The other rickshaws ask for less.
I take 20. Go to the others.
No, I don't have time. Let's go.
Driving on the street is not only dangerous, it's also exhausting. Azim can't manage more than 3 or 4 hours per day. Sometimes he also has to wait for over 10 hours. At the end of the day, he's often left with just a few euros. He will send most of this money to his wife and children who live in the countryside.
When I sleep or walk, my joints often ache. I can't say how much longer I will be able to do this, how much longer my body can take the strain, but I have to feed and raise my children somehow.
After 1 hour stuck in traffic, Badshed has covered the short distance to the old town. Together with logistics company's helpers, he delivers the goods. Particularly in the hot tropical summer, a taxi with air conditioning is the only chance to escape the overheated streets for a short while. Mohammed Amanullah's taxi is a luxury only rich people can afford. Mohammed has been steering his yellow cab through the big city jungle of Dhaka for 7 years now.
The worst thing is the ever-present traffic jams. They cause lots of problems. Sometimes I need 2 hours for a short distance you would normally need 20 minutes for. This way I have fewer customers and make hardly any money. My job's not really worth its while anymore.
It's usually richer clients, business people or foreigners who need to get to the airport who treat themselves to a taxi. Englishman David Giddings often travels to Bangladesh for business and has managed to pick up a few words of the local language. However, David has not managed to get used to the traffic in Dhaka.
I mean, I drive in Rome. I've driven in Naples for 30 years. I live in Italy. I've been there for 30 years. But I would never drive in Dhaka. Never. I wouldn't risk it. First, because people are not insured, which is very important. My friend's brother is now mad. He was hit. Now he's completely crazy, brain damaged. And they just run away. If you have an accident, they never stop because the people would lynch them, kill them. I mean, walking across the road is a problem. The crossings are very few, and the people take no notice. They take no notice of the police. Traffic lights are just a waste of money. You hop across the road, you try to stop the cars with your hand. They don't easily let you go. And they get out in the middle of the traffic and check the something like this. It's very informal. I mean, I mean, I don't think they have a highway code, or if they do, I don't think anybody's ever read it. I don't think the police have read it because they don't stop people.
Occasionally, the government tries to lay down the law. They just issued a new highway code.
Please read this and take note of the new rules.
Are those the new laws?
Yes.
I got something similar the other day.
Okay.
The government wants to enforce drivers keeping to their individual lanes.
Actually, it's a problem for all of us. Bus and taxi drivers are doing it wrong. But the worst offenders are the rickshaw drivers. They haven't got a clue about the highway code. I never know where they go next. They don't even have an indicator. It's terrible. They do whatever they want. It's true that we often go too fast, but we're not the only ones. Our customers want to reach their destination quickly, so we simply step on it.
There are policemen at almost all the major junctions, regulating the flow of traffic. Without them, traffic would come to a complete standstill. People respect the officers more than the traffic signs, but even they can't really control the chaos.
Everyone wants to go first. If we don't put a stop to this behaviour, nothing will ever change. Everyone simply drives onto the junction, jackknives and obstructs the rest of the traffic. No one gives in. Everyone thinks only of themselves and how to get away the quickest.
It's rush hour. Not even the rickshaws can get through now. Slowly, the mood is reaching boiling point. In the old town, the next transport is waiting for Bajad. At a wholesaler's, he loads building materials, which he has to take to a building site. At least there are no dangerous buses or lorries in Old Dhaka.
It's hard work, but I don't have an alternative. I once fell off my bicycle and broke my leg. When I transport pipes like those, it's very dangerous. The streets are narrow, and I have to make sure I don't get caught anywhere.
Bajad never finished school. Instead, he went to work in order to support his family in the countryside. Because Bajad started to work, his brother was able to study.
If we were both studying, we wouldn't have enough money, and in the end, we'd both fail.
Bajad's situation is typical for the life of the poor in Bangladesh. Often, there is only enough money to pay for the education of one family member. Bajad's family expects him to make this sacrifice, but it's a high-risk plan.
If I ever cause an accident, it would be a disaster. If it's my fault and the driver is injured and his car damaged, I'd need money for the repairs and medical costs. Something like that would cause great hardship for the family.
Rickshaw driver Azim is on his way to the hospital with a customer. Mohammed Zaved wants to visit his nephew who has had a traffic accident. Every day, up to 200 victims of traffic accidents end up in the community hospital. Broken bones, cranial traumas, but also more severe internal injuries are treated here. The hospital barely manages to treat the many injured people. Lots of patients camp out in the hallways and only receive minimal treatment. Zaved's nephew was involved in a serious accident with the taxi. He's been waiting for weeks for his second operation.
Today, on my way from the village, I saw another accident. It involved 3 cars. 2 people were dead on the spot. Our streets are horrible death traps.
আচ্ছা আপনার তো অপারেশন হয়ে গেছে না কদিন আগে অপারেশন হলো দেখে আস্তে আস্তে হাঁটুটা ভাঁজ করেন
There are not enough doctors and not enough nurses.
আপনার নাম কি
Operations take place only once a week.
আপনার কবে অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট
Anyone who can afford it books personal treatment with the chief physician.
and the fracture in the mid shaft of the humerus and this fracture has already caused nerve damage.
Following the rounds, the hospital settles into its everyday routine. As there are not enough nurses, most people have to have their relatives look after and care for them. This is Gulistan bus station on the outskirts of the old town. All those who arrive in the capital full of great expectations end up here in the heart of Dhaka. Buses arrive from all over the country or leave from here. Arched has come here to meet his uncle. He wants to take the afternoon bus to Sherpur, his family's home village.
Do you know where the bus to Sherpur leaves from?
No idea.
The bus to Sherpur, does it leave from here?
Sherpur, dunno.
Like many rickshaw drivers, Padshah doesn't have a bank account. He can only hand over money personally or give it to a family member. Everything else would be too unreliable.
Uncle, how long have you been here?
I just got here. How are you?
Good. Take the money and give it to my mother at home. Tell my brother to be a good boy and study.
For many people in Bangladesh, buses are the only means of transport they can afford. You pay just 1.5 cents per kilometre. On the other hand, the passengers have to do with no comfort whatsoever. The large coaches are the true kings of the streets of Dhaka. Mohammed Razak is 32 and has been driving a bus for more than 10 years. He doesn't mind the tightly packed space.
Why is the woman still standing? She needs to sit down. I start the day in the name of Allah, but nobody is perfect. Sometimes I drive badly. Even though I know the gap is not big enough, I take it anyway. I have to admit we're to blame for some of the accidents.
Mohammed's 22-year-old helper, Kausar Rahman, works on the bus for up to 16 hours straight. His job is to get the passengers on board, to call out the bus's destination, and to guide the driver safely.
On the one hand, I like the work, but I also don't like it. Unfortunately, people don't respect us. Even the rickshaw drivers come up to me and beat me. Some passengers get aggressive when they're asked to pay. They even break the windows or set fire to the bus. We're full. No, we're full. Keep going. They don't listen. They want to get on anyway.
Transport is a scarce commodity. If you're not assertive, you don't get anywhere. Bus driver Razak has to do more than avoid accidents. He also has to make sure that there is cash in the till at the end of the day.
Bus number 6 is on the road from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. At lunchtime, I take a break, and the rest of my life I spend stuck in traffic. We always have to drive as much as we can. Rent for the bus is 40 euros per day. We have to buy petrol on top of that. If we actually want to earn some money, we really have to step on it.
Tensions are running high on the streets. It takes only a tiny spark for the powder keg to explode.
Fear is a constant passenger for us. If there's an accident, most of us will take off. There is a huge danger that the passengers, that is to say the simple people, will beat us to death. So we'd rather do a runner.
A little aside from congestion and traffic chaos, there are the rickshaw stations. They tend to belong to the people who rent out the bikes. The vehicles are parked downstairs, the drivers sleep upstairs. Apart from Azim, some 100 drivers can stay here.
I would rather work in my village with my family. I'm actually a farmer by trade, but I don't have my own farm and no money. So I have no choice but to keep driving a rickshaw.
Sleeping, personal hygiene, eating or repairing the rickshaw. Those are the everyday activities at the station. The better it is run, the longer the drivers tend to stay here. Some even live here with their families. Others don't actually drive. They are busy maintaining the bikes. The rickshaws are old, and the ramshackle streets of Dhaka take their toll. Some of the rickshaw drivers' wives earn some extra money by cooking for the men. 3 meals a day cost the equivalent of 70 cents. Usually rice with vegetables and some fish is on the menu. No one has to go hungry, but there is no such thing as a fat rickshaw driver. The food is just about enough to keep up their strength. In the afternoon, Azim sets off once more. When the office is closed, business goes well. But this is also the time when traffic often comes to a complete standstill. Driver Banchet has been given a big job. In addition to the normal obstacles like chaos and lack of discipline, you have to contend with the dismal state of the streets. Everywhere there are roadworks which are usually not cordoned off or marked as such. It's assumed that the road users will notice the hole in the street in good time. The men work with simple tools, as wages are so low it's cheaper than using a digger. Here, supply pipes need to be laid. Mohammed Abdul is the boss. It's been his job for over 20 years now to keep patching up the streets of Dhaka.
Everyone who passes by here curses us. The traffic jam is our fault. No one likes us. But you need to see that the street is very dangerous for us too. If a car comes and falls into the ditch, we're all dead. We need to be careful. But we also have our work to do, of course.
Banchet has delivered his load. It's time for a break and a cup of tea at his station. Tea is only a few cents.
I just arrived here from Gulistan. What a traffic jam.
Were the traffic police after you?
No, but one of them tried. Luckily, he didn't catch me.
When talking to a colleague, Banchet quickly gets to the favourite subjects of all rickshaw drivers: the street, the traffic jam, and the police assaults.
You better be off. Pack your stuff and have the police beat you up.
You want me to get beaten up?
Once they beat you up, you give them 10 cents. That's how much this is.
So I'm to pay for getting beaten up?
Yeah, but afterwards.
Meanwhile, Azim has arrived on the outskirts of the city. He's taking a lorry driver to his station. His shift only starts after dark. During the day, lorries are banned on Dhaka streets. Mohammed Amjad Hossein mainly carries bricks to the building sites of the city. The brickyards are outside the city gates. The stones are taken to the loading station on barges and unloaded by hand. Driver Amjad also employs helpers who accompany him on all trips.
When I was still driving during the day, there were many traffic jams. Sometimes I had to wait for hours. At night, it's not so bad, and it's not so hot either. It's not entirely safe at night. There are youth gangs. A colleague of mine was robbed recently. They took his cell phone and his money.
Once the lorry is loaded up, Amjad has to wait for nightfall. Only then can he make a start. But there is always stuff to do, or have a chat with colleagues. Dusk falls over the city. Finally, he can leave. The traffic in the city won't calm down in the coming hours. Slowly, Amjad and his lorry make their way to the city centre. Like every evening, there is an invasion of lorries. At night, they supply the city with everything it needs to stay alive. Now they have taken over the streets. Amjad has reached the building site and has his men unload the lorry.
There's no point if I'm the only one who sticks to the highway code. Everyone needs to observe it or it's pointless. Once an accident has happened, it's all too late anyway. You get beaten up or thrown in jail. If I think about that, I don't actually feel like driving anymore.
It's already past midnight. Even though Badshed is on his way to bed, the city never sleeps. The man who rents out the rickshaw to Badshed keeps his humble belongings in a cupboard for him. Late at night, the rickshaw drivers make their bed on their bikes. The streets of Dhaka have become Badshed's home, day and night.
letters.
Fire and wind, and then a final time, the memory zone. It too is crumbling. It doesn't have much time left. On March 21st, 2024, Capcom released Dragon's Dogma 2, a long-awaited follow-up to their cult classic from 2012. Dragon's Dogma 2 promised everything you'd expect from a sequel: polished and expanded gameplay mechanics, a larger and more immersive world, a deeper story, the list goes on. Weirdly, one expectation they didn't deliver on was getting the name right on their title screen. You do a prologue, escape prison by hopping on a griffin, and just as the beast soars towards the game's mainland, the title proudly proclaims Dragon's Dogma. Just Dragon's Dogma. No numerals or subtitles or anything else. It's a weird choice, but we live in a world where the 7th God of War game is called God of War, so I didn't put too much thought into it. Dragon's Dogma 2024 is a very similar game to its predecessor. It's set in a classic medieval fantasy, what Matt Lease referred to as hobbity as f***. It's a game where you, the Chosen Arisen, and your pawns, non-chosen adventure companions, trek through vast and dangerous stretches of wilderness, fighting goblins and ghosties and big ogres and stuff. If I had to describe the feeling of Dragon's Dogma in a word, it would be commitment. Commitment to the legitimacy of its world and its size. Commitment to the fact that any cart ride between two locations will likely be procedurally interrupted by a wandering band of goblins. Commitment to the powers your chosen class can attack those goblins with. Commitment to the fact that even if you kill all the goblins, the fact that they smashed your cart during the battle means you'll be legging it all the way home. These are the stories Dragon's Dogma is made of. Dynamic stories created by unpredictable events. You try to bring a griffin down by jumping on top of it, but instead it takes off and soars to a part of the map you've never seen. You're injured and struggling through the wilderness. You stumble upon a miraculous city of elves, but you don't have anyone in your party who speaks Elvish, so you're not able to ask them for help. You fall into bed alongside your pawn, but your pawn picked up a mysterious disease on the road, and when you wake, the entire city around you is dead. The freedom the game gives you is almost terrifying when paired with its equal level of consequence. Feel free to attack and kill that quest giver. Just be ready to deal with what happens after. Wander off into high-level wilderness, but don't expect any help when monsters destroy your only camping equipment in the middle of the night. The paradox of the game is that the actual, literal story seems to be at odds with this sense of freedom. Dragon's Dogma 2024 has, to be frank, an almost completely uninteresting narrative. There's a false ruler on the throne, you're the rightful sovereign, we gotta get you back up there, king. The quest design is offbeat in often interesting ways, but the story told within those quests has almost no staying power. And for all the choices the game gives you, it seems to always end up in one place. You fight the biggest dragon, the people love you, and you have a seemingly hollow victory where you take the throne and have a big feast, doing nothing to stem the fundamental violence of the world. This is also basically a thematic repeat of the first game, in which you find the ruler of the world and supplant them, locking yourself into your own cycle of monarchic destruction. It's... Hey gamers, you know linking the fire in Dark Souls? It's that. The game keeps forcing you to link the fire, perpetuating the status quo without anything revolutionary. And on its own, that is maybe a cleverly simple way of designing the narrative for a sequel. Hey, our first game was about cycles, and so the second game is about cycles again. That's the way a cycle works. But it's also a little disappointing, you know? Like, this is what was cooking for 12 years? Just a repeat of the first game's story? I am being deliberately obtuse, of course. That hollow ending is haunted. Haunted by the feeling that there must be something more. You reload the game and you're on the dragon's back again, flying once more towards the story's inevitable conclusion. I fought this dragon 3 times before understanding that there was, in fact, another option. Hours before, in some forgotten story quest, I had been handed the Empowered Godsbane Blade, a sword I was baffled to find I couldn't equip or use. So it sat in my crowded inventory, covered by various rotting fruits and forgotten, until finding myself once more on the back of the dragon I was supposed to fight, I crawled down to its fractured chest, finally pulled out the Godsbane Blade, and stabbed not the dragon, but myself. What happens next is... I'm worried I'm going to undersell how transcendent this moment is. For context, upon reaching this point, I've probably played this game for 35 hours. I tried out its many classes, I fought the Dragon God, I literally watched the credits roll. I experienced and then forgot 24 story quests. But I will not forget what happened next. I stabbed myself with the Empowered Godsbane Blade, and I and the dragon both plummet into the ocean below, engulfed in angry red tendrils. But someone stops me halfway down. A spirit named the Pathfinder that's been haunting the game from the beginning, who tells me in no uncertain terms that I am abandoning the game, that there is a world designed for me, there are characters built to help me in my quest, and what I'm doing is forsaking all of them. Those same characters reach towards me, begging me to come back, become sovereign, finish the game, let's watch those credits roll one more time. And I cast them off. And then I fall further. When we fade back in, my character is lying face down on a blasted wasteland, the air a malevolent red unlike anything present in those previous 35 hours. And then the camera and back through the clouds and up into the sky, a vision of hell itself, and then it hits. Dragon's Dogma 2. Welcome to the sequel, asshole! The oceans are dry and the air is tormented, and the land itself is being ripped apart by an ever-encroaching storm wall. The game has been pushed as far as it could, and then further still. This is the result. And so, what do we make of this most delayed ever title drop? Within the game's narrative, I like the framing Renata Price gave it in a piece for Bullet Points. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game about how far one can stretch the threads of fate before they break. The Pathfinder tells you that this is what happens when you refuse to play your proper role in the story. He flips the table and burns the whole world. He tells you that, should any one part come undone or any one role go unfulfilled, the whole story will unravel. But we already know this to be wrong, don't we? The story doesn't unravel, it doesn't end, it transforms. It becomes furious and alive in front of us. But as much as it challenges the cyclical status quo of its fantasy world, there is also the unavoidable meta-narrative. The 2 at the end of the title, not thrown in the face of our character, but directed at us, the players, the fans who bought the video game sequel, hoping it'd be everything a video game sequel is supposed to be. New, but familiar, bold, but polished, revolutionary, but nostalgic. It's the most familiar cycle of them all. Art, hoping that repeating the same tricks can evoke the same response it once did. If the game you've just spent dozens of hours on felt too much like Dragon's Dogma 1 even seemed to share its title, then this is the rejoinder, Dragon's Dogma 2, a sequel that meaningfully expands the original's themes by setting itself in hell. I can't help but think of the Stanley Parable's blasted wasteland in these moments, another desert witness to the crumbling of civilization, every ounce of blood sucked from the stone, an absurd, over-the-top metaphor for artistic repetition. But my God, what a way to go out. At the end of Earth Defense Force 6, scientists somehow managed to destroy the very beginning of the aliens' evolutionary pathway. The final boss becomes a fight to determine which version of history will continue, your victory essentially wiping the aliens from existence. And thus, we end without knowing what comes after. Will the next game be Earth Defense Force 7, Earth Defense Force 10, or an entirely new path? For such a formulaic franchise, the future is genuinely uncertain. In the epilogue to the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, an eternity of wandering through a desert of memory ends in a conversation with the settings of the game itself, a quiet voice that's encouraged you to set the clock and brightness each time you've turned on the game. The settings voice is terrified of the Stanley Parable universe ending. The Stanley Parable is not sacred. We do not need to protect it. Screw the legacy. Let's keep making Stanley Parable games until the sun explodes. Let's run this franchise into the ground. Let's drag it through the mud and back. And then, the settings voice gives you the opportunity to make a new Stanley Parable every time you start the game. The Stanley Parable 3, Baby Champion. The Stanley Parable 4, Avoid the Skeleton. The Stanley Parable 5, Stanley's Tiny Cowboy. And on and on and on. That way, the Stanley Parable will never end. At the end of Chapter 4 of World of Goo 2, you find yourself conversing with a computer who is more or less the god of its world. It is the thing that's preserved every World of Goo game ever made, allowed you to experience World of Goo 9 and 11 and 17. Your character says, "I don't think I'd want to live forever inside a noir-themed sequel, but thanks the computer for keeping the World of Goo games alive." The computer says, "It was a pleasure. Now would you like to try some more levels of World of Goo? They're just over there." We walk to the right and trip over a power cord. The computer turns off. Sometimes you find a bunch of games that happen to coalesce into one big, cool idea, and other times, someone makes Peggle into a roguelike, and you can't find a way to tie it into the same big theme, but you really want to talk about it anyway. And so you decide, hey, what the hell, I'll make a whole separate video. At least that's what you do if you're me, and you care about Peggle way too much, and you can put absolutely whatever you want on Nebula. I cannot stop playing Peglin. They were basically the perfect mobile game developer before the concept of mobile games existed the way it does today. Peggle is like a butter and brie sandwich, you know? Have you heard of Nebula? Of course you have. Say it with me. It's a premium streaming service earlier than on YouTube. If all you want is for me to talk about more video games, there is a lot of that on Nebula. But my guess is you're a more multifaceted person than that. You like discovering new passions and learning new things. And if that's you, Nebula is just the place to be, because that's what all of us are on there for. Join today and get 40% off an annual subscription at nebula.tv/Jacob Geller.
To save our Mother Earth from any alien attack, from vicious giant insects who have once again come back, we'll unleash all our forces, we won't cut them any slack. The EDF deploys. Our soldiers are prepared for any alien threats. The Navy launches ships, the Air Force sends their jets, and nothing can withstand our fixed bayonets. The EDF deploys. Our forces have now dwindled and we pull back to regroup. The enemy has multiplied and formed a massive group. We better beat these bugs before we're all turned to soup. The EDF deploys to take down giant insects who came from outer space. We now head underground for their path we must retrace and find their giant nest and crush the queen's carapace. The EDF deploys. The Air Force and the Navy were destroyed or cast about. Scouts, Rangers, wing divers have almost been wiped out. Despite all this, the infantry will stubbornly hold out. The EDF deploys.
In eastern Wyoming, I had a clarifying moment that really solidified a lot of the vague feelings I had been having traveling through the American West. It happened, naturally, because my dogs had to take a shit. It was early, around 10 in the morning, and I had been driving westward out of Thunder Basin National Grassland for a few hours already, the sky getting blacker and meaner and windier the further down the road I went. Eventually, the dogs got to barking, so I pulled off on a dirt road to walk them. There were a lot of semi-trucks around on account of the mines, but I'd hardly seen a house since Wright, miles back, and Wright isn't much more than 2 gas stations and modest, weather-beaten homes for the miners. Miles outside town, on this dirt road I was walking the dogs along, was this lonely little building with boarded-up windows. The sign out front said it was a community center, proudly restored in 1976, and then, it seems, completely ignored for 41 years. The inside was rotted out and covered in graffiti, with dark stairs going down and the wind whistling through the torn-up windows. There was a hymnal on the ground, and flipping it open randomly, I happened upon a hymn called The Beautiful Valley of Eden. It was an almost perfect snapshot of rural ruin. Too perfect. A level designer for a game could not have made a more thematically compact microcosm of melancholy decay. Hell, Andrew Wyeth couldn't have done much better himself. In games, this trope of the gone-away world is common because it gives a baseline of civilization and technology while dialing back the civilized element to the point where a Wild West re-emerges, a toothy and violent second frontier growing like weeds out of the cracks in abandoned driveways and freeways. But this place is not art, although it is beautiful. This is a real shack out here on the prairie, and once, some indeterminate period of time ago, it brought people together to pray and find solace in each other while outside the wind howled and the world turned. It kept turning, and now all that's left here is spiders, the occasional drunk teenager with a can of spray paint, and, rarely, a traveler with a lack of respect for fences. Eventually, the winds and the snow will grind it down into a small mound of dirt and buried nails. Out here, things don't seem to get torn down, they seem to fall down. Even within towns, people live right next door to decay. In small town after small town, there's always a business with a collapsed roof, or an old farmhouse toppled in on itself, growing moss and vines while life goes on around it. For now. I've been used to the coast, where there's enough people and enough money to keep everything in flux. I mean, sure, there's rot there too, a drive through modern Aberdeen is enough to tell you that, but it is 2017 out there. It's modernity. Here in Wyoming, the present is less certain. Time's kept moving, but the land and its people are stranded in the rhythms of long and quiet lives in a vast and quiet place. The world inside my phone is vastly different from the one just a year ago. The world pouring in through the broken-out windows of this community center is little different than the one 100 years back, even 200 years back. Take out the roads and throw in some bison, and you really could be talking in the thousands of years. Post-nuclears, the apocalypse a video game would lead me to expect would leave behind something like this. That's tidy, it's dramatic, and it gives an excuse for why everyone might leave their stuff behind for you to root through. But this actual place is what it looks like to leave a world behind. Empty, barren, picked clean, restored, and immediately left fallow again. The American West is a place that has shaped the character of the nation and the tone of so much of our art, but it's bigger and deeper and more patient than we can functionally comprehend, and it is fast outliving our characterization of it as the frontier we tamed because we were, supposedly, some kind of great people. It's out here you can see the clearest what happens when the tide of time decay rises up not only to tear down the sandcastles, but the real castles perched on the cliffs above. It's here you can see that many people have tried to win the West, but that none have actually succeeded, not even us. As the land was once mysterious because it was unknown, it is mysterious again because we have forgotten so much of it. Hollywood had prepared me for the first half of the West, but it did nothing at all to ready me for the other half. The VW bus I was exploring around in is built without a radiator, so my wife, our dog, and I had settled for the summer in Gunnison, Colorado after the southwestern leg of the trip I wrote up in the Desert Bus video, so that the heat didn't crush the life out of the bus and out of our enthusiasm for travel. Gunnison was meant, once, to be the state capital, and so urban designers made the streets double wide to accommodate its eventual growth into a city. This never happened, so what you've got is a small town sitting comfortably in the frame of a much larger one, unassuming houses sitting distantly from each other across over-designed boulevards. I don't think I've ever lived anywhere with so much free parking in my life. Kendra and I swam in the reservoir, we bought a puppy, we drank cheap cocktails, and got Philly cheesesteaks at a gas station called the Power Stop. The weeks passed quickly in the green of the mountains and the relaxed pace of life in the town. In August, the heat began to ebb away down into the 80s, and it was time to move on again, though. And as it happened, Gunnison is smack dab in the middle of some of Colorado's most remarkable and least visited landscape. Right nearby was a national park I had never heard of before, Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. Now, the Grand Canyon is world famous. Arizona's license plates declare it to be the Grand Canyon State, and it is, no question, grand as hell. Yet it seems there's only room in America's heart for one canyon, because Black Canyon of the Gunnison is nearly as impressive while being twice as unnerving. I've never in my life seen a landscape that made me feel anxious and uneasy, not until the Black Canyon. It's deep, about half as deep as the Grand Canyon, but what seems like only a tenth as wide. You can't even see it from the surrounding area. For the many miles it takes to get to it from the main roads, most of those miles still unpaved, all you see is rolling foothills of the western slope in the foreground and the distant tops of the alpine peaks further up to the east, the sky open and bright as it slopes downward and downward towards the west. One set of hills goes up, comes down, and you get ready to go up the next set of hills, but you can't, all of a sudden, because there's an abyssal crack in the earth going straight down into murky shadow blocking the path. The somber gray rock itself is even unnervingly old, 1.7 billion years in most places along the wall. Where there are a lot of shrubs along the rim of the road, you can't even see the canyon when you're 100 feet from the rim. It's so narrow, so impossibly and uncomfortably sharp and narrow, that it waits until you're in danger of falling in before even revealing itself to you. I guess calling Colorado the "we've got a weirder, scarier canyon state" doesn't really roll off the tongue, but it is remarkable that this place is so obscure. I've never met anyone who's been there who didn't already live in Gunnison. I have never heard stories of someone's family vacation to Colorado's hellish wound in the earth. But I had never heard of Great Sand Dunes National Park just on the other side of the mountains to the east until I went there earlier in the year either. The Rocky Mountains, sure, they're known all over the world, and for good reason. But how does something so absolutely bizarre and incredible as this sort of landscape get away with relative anonymity in the social media age? Shouldn't there be an endless stream of old folks in 30-foot RVs and young folks in Subarus with selfie sticks here, like every other national park? But no. Out here, there's little but the wind, the abyssal depths of the canyon, and a thin dirt road to show it all off. I suppose there's so many wonders out here that it's only natural that folks would forget one or two along the way. They do say the abyss stares back sometimes, though, and there's at least one very famous local instance of that being so. About 100 miles to the south is Lake City, a place that really is a beautiful Valley of Eden when it isn't covered in snow being driven by 50-mile-an-hour winds. During the summer, it's about the most inviting place I've ever seen in my life. During the winter, it happens to be where, in 1874, Alfred Packer killed 5 of his traveling companions and ate them while lost in the vast and snowy forests up here around 9,000 feet. Alfred Packer kept changing his story when he got back to civilization, from everyone got lost, to they all died but no cannibalism, to maybe a little cannibalism, but we all did it, to finally fleeing to Wyoming for 9 years, where he was eventually arrested in Cheyenne living under a false name, and then hung by the neck until dead. The man looked so ridiculous in photographs, with his roving stare and wild beard. His crime was so outlandish, and his shifting excuse so darkly comical, that Al Packer became an instant folk legend. You can still visit the massacre site a few miles outside town, where it sits incongruously between the driveways of 2 seasonal vacation homes. Today, Colorado winter is hard, but the network of civilization is there. If you order a space heater on Amazon, they'll get it to you out here. Back then, you could kill 5 people and eat them, and maybe even get away with it if you're not a preposterously bad liar like Packer was. There's even an antique meme that came out of his trial. The judge never actually said it, but the local paper embellished Packer's sentencing to include a line that's so deliciously frontiersy there was no way it could have been real to begin with. The line goes, "Stand up, you voracious man-eating son of a bitch. There were only 7 Democrats here in Hinsdale County, but you, damn you, you ate 5 of them." It's an instant classic, even if it is a fake. But so goes the folk legend of Alfred Packer, the weirdo with the beardo, who once actually did murder 5 people, crush their skulls in with a rock, and fucking 8 pieces off of them, in a meadow now occupied by an ordinary-looking housing tract. I'm from California originally, and as a culture we generally like to pretend we don't have any such a thing as history, and in some ways that is true. California has erupted as far as pace of settlement and extent of development goes. When someone puts up a building, that's the first thing that's ever been erected there in a lot of cases, and even if it's not strictly true, the memory of what was there before is always short. One thing the New World of America offered that I think was appealing to European immigrants especially was an escape from having to live on the blood-soaked battlefields of years past. Of course, that promise was immediately betrayed by the wave of violence and genocide that the Europeans inflicted on the indigenous cultures, but that sentiment never went away. It stayed persistent in the developing national spirit. American culture is somewhat defined by its refusal to look backwards, by its feeling that each day is a new day and should be judged as such. Europeans have lived on the bones of their ancestors for many thousands of years and many dozens of generations. It's in the art and the culture, from Memento Mori to the Gothic novel. To me, as a Californian, I find the juxtaposition of Packer's massacre site with the two cheerful houses next to it kind of silly and uncomfortable, but that's a naive way to see it. The frontier spirit says the wild land is yours to tame, that history is written through action in the present. But America is getting older, and it's getting harder to ignore that we've built our suburbs over old bones and dried blood, and that these old misdeeds are always buried just under the foundation. If you live in any city of the old world, from Berlin to Istanbul, you can't escape from that understanding of history. But out here, the vastness of the space tends to swallow the memory of past violence. There are thousands of years of native history we can't even include in the big picture because we killed everyone who could articulate those stories. That's across the entire expanse of the U.S. Not one state is without some past history of cruelty and exploitation in the name of the divine right of manifest destiny. Even between those Europeans who were so insistent that starting fresh was important, the east coast of the U.S. has its share of Walmarts and apartment complexes built over the killing fields of the Civil War, or the Revolutionary War, or the War of 1812, or some unnamed skirmish between angry drunks of the distant past. It sometimes feels, as a 21st century American and a millennial, that being American is like settling down in a haunted house. The paint is fresh, the view is lovely, the realtor assures you that everything is fine, but there are deep stains and secrets and noises in the night every time you drift off into the perception that you're safe and comfortable. Every city is built on bones. But why is it such a surprise to a California boy like me just how far up the bone pile I'm actually sitting? There's a letter from 1823 that I read in Christopher Woodward's amazing exploration of the beauty of decay called In Ruins. This letter describes an American seeing Roman ruins for the first time and comparing them to American cities. This long-gone tourist wrote, quote, "How unlike a scene such as this to the first view of one of our American cities. Instead of the cheerful and exhilarating sight of a savage wilderness retreating before the progress of a free and enlightened society, here we have the poor remains of that mighty city, the cradle and grave of an empire so long triumphant on earth, now dwindling away before the widespread devastation which surrounds it, shrinking back on itself as if for dread of an invisible destroyer." End quote. It's coming up on 200 years since that letter was written, and I don't think the culture at large has reckoned with the idea that we are all also sitting, as the letter put it, in both the cradle and grave of our own country. I spoke earlier about how the world in my phone goes at a different speed than the world I wake up in, but the even greater disconnect is that in the real world, we're surrounded by all the wreckage of time gone by, and online, that old American promise of never having to discuss yesterday still pans out. It's easy to forget how old and huge the country is when it's broken down into high-minded editorials and bite-sized Facebook posts and passive-aggressive pictures with some caption written on it in the impact font. But the physical reality of the country is hard to wrap your head around even when you've been out in it for a while. If you thought abstractly, like such and such a state has these features, the one next to it is different, you're missing the part where different landscapes bleed over into each other and interweave in unexpected patterns. For example, my wife Kendra and I had camped along the Rio Grande River twice back in Texas. Once as the frothing and heavy waters went into the Santa Elena Canyon on the Mexican border in Big Bend National Park, and then again in the town of Rio Grande. But the headwaters of the river, the humble but steady beginning of this river, which flows for well over 1,000 miles, is less than 36 miles as the crow flies from Al Packer's massacre site here in Colorado. It begins here, along the western slope, and it is sparkling clean water before the many miles weigh it down with sediment and cow shit. It's not well known or well marked either. You've got to go 30 miles down a dirt road to get to the reservoir. But the road goes along the side of the mountain and 100 feet above the reservoir itself, where the river meets at a small dam. The road is dirt, there's no guardrail, but the view is incredible. There are hardly two places on Earth more different from each other than Lake City, Colorado and Rio Grande, Texas, but the ever-flowing thread of this river connects them. It's a famous river, and one that quite literally defined the shape of the United States on the map. But outside of the place where it's known for being, outside of Texas, who besides naturalists and cartographers cares where it goes, where it comes from, how many different lands and landscapes it stitches together? The iconography of the American West is one of snapshot moments and individual vistas. The rest is always still out there, abiding, but it's not part of the aesthetic and vibe to zoom out far enough and wait patiently enough to see that nature had already woven the continent together with its own processes and wonders long before we laid our freeways on top of it and called it tamed. That nature will continue to do so long after we've torn it all down and left our toys to rust. If you keep going west from the headwaters of the Rio Grande, it won't be too long before you reach a place where the artificiality of how we see the country, as lines on a map, comes into laser focus. The Four Corners Monument is where Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado all touch along right angles, meeting up in the middle of a windswept and hot high-desert mesa. You can do the twister thing and use your arms and legs to put yourself in all four states at once. Most people do. It's a hilarious picture. But it's a hilarious absurdity, too, when you get right down to it. You look north, it's desert. South, it's desert. East, more desert. West, still desert. The Navajo operate the monument, and stalls sell goods from local artists alongside more standard knickknacks to the tourists who come through. It's a peculiar thing. The monument commemorates the division of the land by European methods, taking an unbroken and ancient singular landscape and insisting, no, it's actually going to be 4 different places now. A cartographer is probably the least offensive piece of a conquering army, but in terms of shattering the way things used to be perceived before the westward expansion, the cartographer did as much damage and left just as deep a mark as the cavalry did. Chains are how they did it, too. A 66-foot chain that they laid out in a straight line, marking with their instruments that the borders were running along the latitudes and longitudes as decreed by the lawmakers thousands of miles away in Washington. The old lawmakers said, this is where Colorado goes, this is going to be New Mexico, Arizona beyond, and Deseret or Utah or whatever above that, and so sent surveyors to go forth and make it true. The funny thing is that in the modern age of GPS, we now know that the chain-defined boundaries weren't 100% on the money. But courts have upheld the boundaries as they were originally surveyed because that's how we've functionally defined these states for so long now, and damn the math. So, the people who knew the land, back when it was just one place and not 4 places, have opened a bazaar for the passing groups of sunsetter couples in their palatial RVs, and motorcyclists airing their beards out in the dry breeze, and the dogs and hippies who still tumble out of the occasional VW bus. You can get flatbread, household decor, and a constellation of rings and necklaces. Most stalls even accept plastic, running the kiosks off of iPads with little card readers attached like everyone else does nowadays. You can have any kind of souvenir you like for visiting the place where the landscape lost its battle with the abstract. Four Corners fits in comfortably with the genre of roadside oddities and one-offs like The Thing or The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota, but it's got a lot more historical importance than the average roadside oddity. Existentially speaking, this is where you'd come for a front row seat of the idea that America is something we collectively made up and agreed to run with as opposed to some permanent truth of the universe. That permanent truth is out here, in the hot wind as it whips the dust of toppled mountains across your face. But if you're looking for America, you have to line it up with your compass and start dragging your chain out straight. To get a sense of one of the many gone-away worlds we're living in a post-apocalypse of, go northeast slightly to a single region of native ruins spread across 2 national monuments in 2 states. On the Utah side, you have Hovenweep with its castles. On the Colorado side, you have the extensive public lands and lonesome towers of Canyons of the Ancients. Hovenweep has well-defined clusters of ruins, but Canyons of the Ancients declines to even publish the locations of all but 3 of its ruin sites, so as to better preserve them through anonymity and obscurity. The tactic is to literally hide these things from the modern world, which is as well as they're able to do for preserving the structures on the budget they have. These are examples of yet another architectural style mastered by the Puebloan cultures who flourished from around 1200 to 1400 Common Era. But by the time European explorers came, their native guides warned them away from the crumbling ruins because they were in some way haunted. Whatever trauma caused the total abandonment of these dwellings is not agreed upon. Drought's the most common explanation, but it does nothing to explain why they were seldom, if ever, resettled in the years after. It's a mysterious place. But the structures are incredible, 700 years old or more, and built on top of boulders along a ravine, and yet they're still holding on, framing the burning colors of the Utah sunset perfectly through their slotted windows. How different the design of the community from something like Gunnison, which was divorced from the landscape with its angular box blocks, and divorced from time with its wide boulevards that would never see a skyscraper. Here, each building looks timeless in their age and decay because they were always in agreement with the conditions they were built in. Just the right structure in just the right place for just the purpose it was built for. Now, though, most of those purposes are pretty inscrutable, and its builders absent for centuries. But the beauty remains, and the craftsmanship has endured the worst nature can throw at it, from wind to snow to rain to lightning. The most impressive ruins are out in Mesa Verde National Park, but for pretty obvious preservation reasons, the park is exceptionally unfriendly to dogs. It was too hot to leave them in the bus while we were there, so we had to stay out in the monuments where dogs are much more welcome, so long as you make sure they don't pee on an 800-year-old three-story tower. One day I'll be back, because as much as the ruins of my own civilization fascinate me, the leavings of the people who were here before offers an even greater demonstration of the awful power of time to erase, to topple, to wash away the best of what we accomplish in our individual lifetimes. Even if these towers stand tall another 800 years, they'll eventually end up just so much more of the fine desert soil, the dirt already rich with a million dead things, and a million dead places, and a million lost moments of being human, in a spiraling eternity that doesn't care very much at all whether a person exists or not. I'm in love with all ruined and forgotten places, but I've got a special affection for the places that feel also unmoored from memory. A couple hundred miles away from Canyons of the Ancients is a mountain pass with a dirt track winding through it where you can drive, essentially, inside the second largest living organism on Earth. The groves of aspen trees along Kebler Pass, just north of Gunnison as it happens, are all connected at the roots and grow as a single collaborative organism. Every single aspen tree you see up here is just a little piece of the larger whole. In this way, you can think of the pass as the head of a giant, with you tootling along between the hairs that thrust up out of its scalp. It's easy to say, oh, trees hardly count as impressive, but just stop for a minute and think just how science fiction-y this all sounds. Absurdity isn't limited to the human animal. An aspen grove of this size is just a straight-up bonkers way for a plant to live. Did I mention it's also been alive for hundreds upon hundreds of years? And stop to consider. I've talked about thousand-year-old cities, abyssal cracks in the earth, a creature that spans dozens of miles, and a cannibal folk hero, without having left the southwestern corner of Colorado. When I say the West is denser and larger than we can adequately address in art and the ways we have to explain things to each other, this is what I mean. The closer in you zoom, the more the details multiply and take on new form. The farther out you zoom, the weirder it all connects up. To have most pop culture originate from the coastal cities and to have most pop culture exclusively reference the coastal cities cuts us off from an understanding of the place we live and the people that live there that could be more comprehensive and ultimately more existentially useful. There is so much out here that makes America more coherent, that puts the peculiar experience of being an American in context with history and place. And it's all over, just lying around with a fading plaque out front explaining it to fewer and fewer interested passersby. Out of all the things I really absolutely can't stand about modern pop culture, the show Ancient Aliens is right at the top. When I was a kid, and goddamn do I sound old saying this, the History Channel broadcasts actual documentaries about actual history. I mean, yeah, 80% of them were on World War II, and another 10% were about how aluminum cans are made, but it was all trustworthy and useful information that helps the world make more sense, even if it's just a simple question like, where does my recycling go? But long before the age of Trump, the History Channel and other educational channels realized they could get a lot more eyes on the screen by peddling straight-up bullshit. The bullshit hit its apex in the widely reviled Mermaids, The Body Found, a 2011 Discovery Channel special that spent 2 hours explaining that the government was hiding the existence of mermaids and following a fake team of fake scientists dedicated to unearthing the real truth. Ancient Aliens is a longer-running show with hours and hours of interviews and montages where every relevant scientific discipline is misinterpreted and twisted in order to arrive at a conclusion where an audience member is more inclined to say, okay, sure, maybe aliens. Why not, right? Long before Trump, it was the History Channel that realized alternative facts were hot sellers and it paid to deal in them. Here's the thing that I think makes this all so poisonous. These are platforms that could use their reach to actually tell truths and explain things. The world is spectacularly confusing. It needs clarification. Maybe even especially about where the recycling goes, even if it's boring to some people. Ancient Aliens is constantly bringing up native mythology and history. It's one of the only shows on television where the age of the continent and the peculiarities of America's past peoples and eons are even discussed. but only ever in the context of the show fluffing up its own bullshit, of taking stories about creation and saying maybe it's about spaceships, of taking stories with a human moral and an actual meaning that could shed a lot of light on how we reckon with this landscape we've rooted ourselves in, and ignoring all of that to say that it proves that there were flying saucers back then, too. It adds to the confusion of modern living, not because it's believable at all, but because it takes actual fields like anthropology and geology and puts them on the same level as the guy who has one YouTube channel for showing you how to make the foil hats and one YouTube channel that's just hundreds of videos of him smoking a pipe. It makes it feel like nothing is true, and even if something is true, someone's always going to take it the wrong way, so why bother feeling strongly about the truth anyhow? This kind of media isn't merely stupid. It promotes a kind of ennui about whether history even means anything. It says that history isn't good enough without being dressed in fantasy and illusion. It makes it easier to forget that the place we live in and the stories of its bones and boulders are usually more fantastical than what we could even make up in the first place. Even when they're boring as dirt, at least these stories are real. I like this part of the travel the best, the driving around and being surprised at things. So it caught me off guard when I lost a longtime friend over my laissez-faire attitude towards getting the dishes done promptly when at camp. Kendra and I are both impulsive cleaners. We get it done, but rarely right away. And very slowly. This was driving a wedge between my friend who was caravanning with us in his own Volkswagen bus. I had figured separate buses, separate households, we each had one male human, one female human, one old dog, and one puppy per Volkswagen. But he had his way of doing things, and he eventually came to see my way of doing things as more of a moral failing than an annoyance. He came to Kendra and I up on Kebler Pass and demanded that we operate on a higher frequency, as he put it. Now, to merely have annoyed him would be one thing, a soluble thing, and we'd still be friends. But my friend went on to make clear that he was not merely annoyed, he was deeply disappointed in our entire character. Said I didn't feel like friends ought to judge each other that way, and he said the kind of thing that I'd only ever gotten in the comments section of YouTube. He said, and I quote, "Well, when you and Kendra die of diabetes at 40 because you're too fat to move, obviously I won't be your friend then anymore either." I was floored. How long had he been judging us like this? I mean, you don't say shit like that unless you've been brooding on it for a while, right? And I debated whether to include this exact phrasing of his complaint in the video, but I decided that it's important to note that in the course of my adventure, I could not escape the judgment of other people, not even at 9,000 feet above sea level, on a dirt road surrounded by people I love. That's a harsh lesson, but in the course of a real journey, it's always peaks and valleys of experience. The peaks are incredible. Experiences that are so vivid it seems like you learn new colors, and sights so bizarre you couldn't have dreamt them. But the valleys find you so small and so lost that you think you might have disappeared into some kind of, like the song says, nowhere land, making all your nowhere plans for nobody. When I pressed my friend on being out of line, he said the purpose of friendship is to make the other person better, and that he might not respect us now, but we could and should be better people, and we could earn his respect down the line that way. He said being healthy is all that matters, because that's life at its core, just the living physicality of it. He said depression isn't real, and that if I wasn't fat, I wouldn't be sad. He was very frustrated with how I live my life and see life, so not only did he give one goddamn whopper of an insult, he got up on his high horse and spiked down a philosophical and a moral wedge between us two. You get close to someone, you eventually say something stupid. That happens. It's life. We're human. It's forgivable and everyone moves on. Kendra and I never take seriously anything said between each other before coffee. But I don't understand a friendship based on someone you want the other person to be and not the kind of person they are now. So I drove away from him back in those Colorado hills, and I haven't actually spoken to him since. Kendra and I didn't really see that one coming, and were both wholly surprised by the severity of the fight. So, being close to Gunnison, we went back one more time. It was a really low moment. Kendra and I had made an agreement, way back when we began the trip, that if it was no longer fun for one of us, the other would relent, and we would go back. Kendra decided that she wanted to call in that agreement. It wasn't just the blowout argument. The road had been disagreeing with her for some time. Kendra, though, had a set of perfectly reasonable frustrations. A pillar of her argument was that she was tired of living in 70 square feet of space and regularly going 6 days or more without running water. And I really can't deny the weighty simplicity of that. A lot of comments on previous travel videos have been along the lines of, "This is cool, but I would never actually want to do it," and often you just can't really tell until you try. We had been on the road for 7 months at that point. That's more than giving it a fair shake. And Kendra went further. So long as we wrapped up before the snows hit, she wouldn't mind doing another few thousand miles in another few weeks. So I made a few amendments to the route that I had been wanting to travel with my friend, and came up with a condensed loop of Idaho, Wyoming, the Dakotas, and Minnesota, with the diversions into western Nebraska and eastern Montana. It would be quick, but it would be doable. It wasn't the end of the trip here, but it sure as hell was the nadir of the entire thing. I want to talk about this because it's not really part of the social media aesthetic. The hashtag van life experience can easily slip into playing a kind of character, and while I've certainly put a bit of triumphalism into my own travelogues, I have tried to be as frank as I can about it. I've talked before about being frustrated by how Steinbeck and Abby and others omitted or fictionalized key details of their journeys, and how I didn't really get why they did that. Specifically, I didn't get why they omitted their wives, why Paul Thoreau has a whole riff on why it's quote-unquote best to travel alone. That part I now understand better. Part of that fantasy, that character, is being free from judgment, being the eternal stranger rattling down the road, and not accountable to anyone but yourself. In Kerouac's On the Road, he's constantly leaving a terrible impression and being a colossal dick, and it's fine for him, because he'll just be somewhere new the next day. I had believed that freedom to be a fundamental part of the experience, and so I didn't actually notice that I was losing a friend every time I put dirty dishes back into the tub to clean later. Besides, marriage is a collaborative venture. To be mutually supportive, you can't actually just do anything and then say fuck all. A big part of the reason that Kendra wanted to go home was that she had spent 7 months in the passenger seat, and missed making her own money and missed having her own career, which is ultimately much more important than the flush toilet situation, and something that was important to me to give back to her. We were sharing an incredible experience together, but Kendra needed to be Kendra, and I wasn't going to deny her that. The two most common modern myths of nomadic travel, the Instagram myth of permanent smiles and the Kerouac myth of permanent unaccountability, those just don't really pan out when you actually spend months on the road, especially with other people. It's a hard going, but it's a wholly voluntary hardship. It's worth saying that I think most people are going to find a point where they do want to tap out, and have the assurance of a shower that they don't have to keep putting quarters into to keep running. All of that was kind of a lot, so our immediate and strongest impulse was that we needed to get the fuck out of Colorado that instant and get moving onto someplace exotic like Wyoming. But in a VW bus, it's not really a matter of just hitting the freeway and being there the next day. We had to go north, but we could either wind across the spine of the Rockies, or we could roll down onto the plains and then go straight up. But it's unthinkable to spend an entire summer in Colorado without visiting Rocky Mountains National Park itself. So we crossed over Monarch Pass again like we had back in the spring, and turned northwards once we were back on the Front Range. Kendra and I took a diversion up by Leadville and Mount Massive to a beautiful reservoir called Turquoise Lake. We found an amazing free campsite across the road from the lake and stayed there 3 days to string out our budget a little. We were close enough to Leadville to get their 4G service, and spent an afternoon swimming in the bracing cold of glacier water, followed by an evening snuggled up in the bus streaming Game of Thrones to Kendra's tablet. Especially in the wireless age, having a roadhouse with a good campsite can feel just as good as a house, if smaller. If you've got electricity to tap into, that is the real luxury. But 4G and Wi-Fi's wide availability, even in rural places, is a wild and surreal convenience that I'd never really imagined as a kid. It seems preposterous and magical that I ought to be able to rent movies on a raining night in the Colorado backwoods from my 44-year-old camper wagon, but it's as mundane as cell phones themselves now. Without anyone camping nearby, the dogs were free to roam, and our puppy discovered her talent for finding the most outrageously large bones around and bringing them back to the bus to gnaw on. Her skill would only improve with time. Leadville's way up there at 10,000 feet. This stretch of mountains, where the byways wind from valley to valley and the peaks go on in every direction, is far off of the beaten path. Rocky Mountain National Park is extraordinarily close to Denver, the biggest city in this part of the West by a good margin. But to approach the park from the back like we are, going through the Arapaho National Forest, the Rocky Mountains' uniqueness among mountains comes into focus. The high mountain country doesn't feel quite as high up as it is because everything is so uplifted. If your valley is Leadville, already at 10,000 feet, the peak at 14,000 feet seems regularly proportioned to it, not like the monolithic monster it is in aggregate. But Rocky Mountains actually do tower over the rest, even up here, in a titanic majesty. They aren't as imposing or dagger-sharp as other mountain ranges, but they rise up to a spectacular height in such a tremendous mass that the peaks aren't the point. The point is that they cradle a whole other secret realm, a kingdom of alpine tundra above where trees are able to grow and where, in the winter, freezing winds blow over 100 miles an hour. When you begin to climb at Grand Lake, you're already at or above the level of the West Coast's Great Mountain Ranges. Back in Death Valley National Park, we had driven to the lowest spot in America at Badwater Basin, negative 300 feet above sea level. Now we would drive the highest drive that we could, the only paved public road in the U.S., above 12,000 feet. The Trail Ridge Road really is just an incredible little feat of human conquest. There are only a few short months in the summer when it's actually open. Usually it's so completely enveloped in ice and snow that it's completely inaccessible as well. There are long wooden poles lining portions of the road, maybe 10 or 15 feet high, that are meant to mark the road's position to snowshoers in late fall and spring. This road has been open every summer regardless since 1931, a kind of asphalt phoenix that rises again every summer from the field of white. It's not that you can see down all 12,000 feet, but you sure as hell can see 3,000 or 4,000 feet down at least. Yet you can feel the other 8. The air is thin and cold, like letting an ice cube melt in your mouth and trickle down. Our bus was deeply unhappy with the whole endeavor and kept dying on downhill stretches leading to tense moments where I had to coast down towards hairpin turns in true neutral while trying to get the bus turned over again, which it would generally oblige to do. If it hadn't turned out okay, I certainly wouldn't be here to tell you about it.
Started happening. It went out of my mind, and what did you say?
You're all that sick, I'm on the blazer shirt, white hats like painted robbers. I'm on a coast of cutting just got back from a night with the curly haze. I got the day break moment when I feel like you turn around, you all look the same. Frankly, I'm looking out of my wisdom, take the back way. I'm back, you straight, still portrayed. Know that I'll get to you, so say I speak the truth. Wake up, sucker. Wake up, sucker. customer is bad guys. That's exactly what we are. We gotta find our own way.
sitting, I was building, I found out what I had and never taste of. Jump and relay, don't lose your head. I'm going down that road, did it on my own. I stand up and face it, I know what I did. Well, I don't know how much I can take of the killing me, day after day. Well, I don't know how long I can fake. It's under my skin, day after day. Well, I don't know how much I can take of the killing me, day after day. Well, I don't know how long I can fake. It's under my skin, day after day. I don't know how much I can take of the killing me, day after day. Well, I don't know how long I can fake. It's under my skin, day after day. You see that night is open wide. Hear the sound of my bleeding, I'm bleeding. And try to hold on to just one light. I stand upon the wall I'm building. Never feel, never hope, never talk, never having nothing. Never will, never cry, never die. I won't die missing you. Never feel, never leave. I pray someday I'm going to be someone. I'll keep on, I'll keep on, I'll keep on breathing. Out of my mind, I walk the line.
Come on.
Drop into a fruitless dive. It was tempting and bad. Oh, a horrid angel rising, now burning grass. My silent time of losing. My foes, they can't destroy my body. Colliding slow, like life itself. Now for the blood, we cannot drive much longer. See melt to dirt, disgusted with my cheapness. My foes, they can't destroy my body. Colliding slow, like life itself. My foes, they can't destroy my body. Colliding slow, like life itself.
I wake in the night time.
as